everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I'm hoping to read this January. So welcome back to your regularly scheduled programming. I know I said I was going to take a break after Bookmas, and I did. Like, I honestly haven't filmed an actual formal sit-down video since the beginning of December when I finished filming for Bookmas, but I didn't end up taking as long of a break just because I wanted to get back to work and like get back to things and get back to trying to figure out my schedule and my balancing things, because that's something I'm really working on this year. So I thought it would be fun to come back to you guys with a TBR video because I love doing them every month. Even though I never stick to them, they're just books that I think I might read. I still just super enjoy watching them and having, you know, a nice list of books that I can kind of consult when I'm trying to decide what to read, because I can never really pick. So today's video is kindly sponsored by Function of Beauty. I have raved about them in the past, and that's because I truly love their products. So they are a customizable shampoo and conditioner, but they also have body wash and body lotion. So you get to say what your hair goals are, and then you get a shampoo and conditioner based on that. You also get to pick the color and everything, which is really fun. So I have the shampoo here in the blue color, and then the conditioner, of course, in the purple. But I just absolutely love these. I love having a formula that fits me because I don't think hair care is one size fits all. Like, I have specific needs for my hair, and I used to have to use a bunch of products to address those needs, but with Function of Beauty, I don't have to do that anymore, which is so lovely and definitely saves me money in the long run. And like I said, they also do have a body wash and body lotion, and I love the pump tops for all of these things. Like, they are just so convenient, and you get to choose the colors for this too. So for my formula, I chose Deep Condition, Lengthen, Shine, Anti-Frizz, and Curl Definition, and it definitely has been working for me. I have been loving the results I've been getting. I also chose the Peach and Mandarin scent, which I love. It smells delightful. And I actually also chose that scent for my body products too. So like, I've just been walking around smelling like a peach. These products are free of parabens, sulfates, GMOs, and other toxins, and they are 100% vegan and cruelty free. So it's just a good choice all around. I've been using these for at least 6 months now. It's probably been more than that, like 8 to 10. I just have no concept of time, especially with 2020, but I have been so pleased with the results. I find that my hair has a lot more bounce to it. It's a lot softer and not so dry, which is huge for me because it gets very dry, and the curl definition has been really nice. So if you wanted to try this out and see if it's something that might work for you, you can click the link in the description box down below to get 20% off of your first order, which is a great deal, especially to try it out. I definitely recommend trying it, and you can also, like, if you change your mind with what goals you have, you can also change that. Like, it's just a win all around, honestly. I almost forgot to mention, you also get to put your name on it. It's a really fun time. So definitely check it out, and thank you very much to Function of Beauty for sponsoring today's video. So my reading plans for January are really just whatever. There's really no plan. I generally will kind of like plan out a list for these kinds of videos ahead of time, but I just went to my shelves and picked a bunch of random books, so there is like zero preparation here. I am hoping for some easier reads. I don't really want to push myself. January is going to be spent entirely in lockdown where I live, so that like can kind of go one of two ways. I know in December it did not go a great way. December was a really difficult month, and I only ended up reading 3 books in December. So I want to try and kind of make up for that and get on track for my 100 books a year goal. Because if I start off strong and then have some like kind of hiccups along the way in the year, as long as I started off strong, I should be able to like make up for it. That's just the way that my brain is thinking this will work. But I'm just kind of going for easy reads. I'm going for what I've been liking recently and going from there. But like I said, like, this is by no means a list that I'm absolutely going to stick to. It's just the books that are kind of sticking out to me right now that I think I will probably gravitate towards, but who knows what's going to happen. So I'm going to start off with the 2 books that I'm currently reading. So my goal is 2 books a week, and I have definitely plenty more than 2 books a week here, but like I said, if I can get ahead, that will be amazing. So the first book that I'm currently reading is Real Men Knit by Kwana Jackson. This is an adult romance, and I'm actually further than I am like showing here because I was reading my ebook copy last night. I like to read ebooks before bed because then I can have like the backlit thing, but also like it can be dark and I find it easier to fall asleep, but also I'm not disturbing my boyfriend, so like it just ends up working out. But yeah, I think I'm on chapter 5 or something like that, and I am liking it so far. So it starts off with the death of Mama Joy, who is the owner of this Harlem-based knitting shop, and she's very beloved. So the main character, Carrie, she worked with her, and since she was a kid, she's been going to that knitting shop. But there's also 4 brothers there, but they're all adoptive brothers, but they are trying to decide what the fate of this knitting shop is going to be. So the one brother decides that he's going to try and save it, even though the owner has now died. So to honor her memory, they're going to try and save it, and Carrie decides that she's going to try and help out. And it's an interesting concept so far, definitely very different than other romances I've read. I like the brother aspect, and I'm enjoying the knitting shop setting. It's very interesting, and I'm looking forward to getting further into it, learning more about the brothers, because there's definitely a very interesting dynamic there. So this is one of the ones that I have decided to start the year with. But the other book that I have started the year with is, I didn't have anywhere to put this within reach. There we go. Sorry, that was supposed to be like way more seamless of a transition, but Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. So I talked about this book quite a bit towards the end of 2020 because it came out later in the year and I just never got the chance to get to it. But I actually was trying to read this for like all of December and just was having such a hard time focusing on it and like actually getting into it. So I ended up switching over to the audiobook. I actually flip-flopped because Real Men Knit, I was listening to that one on audio, but now I'm physically reading it. And this one I was physically reading, but now I have decided to listen to the audiobook. And the audiobook is working a lot better for me. I'm able to focus a lot more on it. So that's good. I don't know why that is, but that's just kind of the way that it's working out. I think just with my mental health right now, like things that kind of require a little bit more brain power, it's easier for me to listen to the audiobook because it's like, it's being told to me. But yeah, so this one, I'm not exactly sure how far I am into it. Probably, I think I'm probably about there actually. That seems kind of accurate, but this is about a main character whose mother has just recently died and she is going to this college program, but like she's not in college, it's for high school students. It's a stay away program at North Carolina, I think it is, university, UNC Chapel Hill. I think that's University of North Carolina, but I have no clue about the US school system, so absolutely no idea. But she ends up witnessing a magical attack her first night there, and it ends up unleashing some magical powers that she didn't know that she had, and she's just kind of like getting all wrapped up in this world where she realizes that there's magic in the real world, but it's all hidden, so kind of that sort of thing. It is definitely an interesting take on it. A lot of people compare this to City of Bones, and I totally see why, but I am having a really great time listening to this audiobook. I love the main character, so I think so far it is pretty much living up to the hype. So now for the other books that I'm hoping to read. So like I said, I've got a mix of things here. I have a couple of fantasies, but I'm gonna take it easy there, and then I have some historical fictions because I'd really been enjoying that, and some contemporaries, but honestly it is pretty much an even mix of everything because I don't know what I'm gonna want to read. But here I have A Faux Love Story by Leigh. This one is coming out February 2021, so this is an arc that I have, and I think this sounds so adorable. So it is a contemporary YA romance, but it's set with this family. These families have rival restaurants. I think it's actually, wait, I don't think it's faux. I think it's pho is the way that it's pronounced, but I'm not entirely sure on that. I need to look that up. I think it's pho though. The generally accepted way to say is pho. Okay, so pho. So I'd imagine then the title is supposed to be pronounced A Pho Love Story. So they have neighboring pho restaurants and they're rivals and everything obviously, but it is a romance between two like sort of like Romeo and Juliet thing there, but I love the idea of it being set with restaurants and everything. It just sounds like the setup for an adorable, fun, quirky little romance. Next is The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds Reed. So like I said, historical fiction, had a great time with it in 2020. I've always loved it, but I hadn't really read a lot before 2020 for whatever reason. So I want to continue with reading it more regularly, and this is definitely one that has been catching my eye recently. So it's set in 1991, and it is set in LA during the Rodney King riots. So the main character goes from being just one of the girls at school to being one of the black kids, and she's dealing with being othered like that and the whole situation that is unfolding. So this isn't really a point in history that I know a ton about because it is pretty recent history, but I think it's definitely one that is important to educate myself on, and I've heard some really amazing things about this book, so definitely one that I'm looking forward to reading. Next is Unbirthday by Liz Braswell. So this is not the latest, is it the latest? Yes, the latest installment in the Twisted Tales series by Disney. I am not doing my Twisted Tales readathon yet. When I do that, I will do a vlog of that, even though I'm not doing reading vlogs regularly right now. I will do a vlog whenever I decide to do that readathon, but I think I'm going to read this one separately because I already have enough to read in a readathon, and I want to kind of be able to take my time with this one. So this one is Alice in Wonderland. Twisted Tales are, they basically like take a typical Disney fairy tale and ask a question and twist it. So with this one, it's what if Wonderland was in peril and Alice was very, very late. So super interesting concept for sure. And obviously Alice is near and dear to my heart. So I'm really looking forward to having this be the first Twisted Tale that I actually end up finally reading, because I've just been saving them for this big readathon. But like I said, I think this one is going to just be easier to read outside of the readathon. So hopefully I will be able to finally get to it this month, because I super am looking forward to reading it. It's been a long time since I've read an Alice retelling. Speaking of retellings, next is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is actually a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but it is set in 1920s Shanghai. So it just like, that honestly had me absolutely hooked. I couldn't believe I hadn't heard of this book before I got it, but like, I'm really happy to have it in my hands now. So I haven't really read all that many Romeo and Juliet retellings. I actually have another one that will be in my January book haul, but this one just sounds so amazing. Like, oh my goodness, 1920s Shanghai, but Romeo and Juliet, like everything about that, it's rival gangs, like it just sounds like it's going to be really interesting. So I definitely am hoping that once I can get a little bit more, like ease myself a little bit back into reading and then back into fantasy, I will be picking this one up. This next book is kind of a long shot, to be honest, but Alice by Heart by Stephen Sater. So I have had this for quite a while. It was a Broadway play, but now it's a novelization of it, yeah, based on the stage musical Alice by Heart. And I hadn't really heard a lot about it when it came out last year, but then I was like, why haven't I picked this up? Like, it's World War II, but it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling. Like, everything about that describes what I generally am super interested in, but something about it just, I wasn't really gravitating toward it. And then I did try to pick it up last year, but I found the first little bit to be a kind of like a tad convoluted. So really going to have to see how my reading ends up going for when I end up picking this up, because if I'm kind of like having trouble focusing, I don't really want to pick up something that I'm going to find convoluted. But I do really want to read this because I'm hoping it won't disappoint me, but we'll see what ends up happening. Like, hopefully I will be able to give it a chance, but if not this month, then I definitely want to try and read it this year, which is also true of like basically all the books that I have. But what else is new? New year, not new me. It's just, I have too many books and I want to read them all, but there's no time. Next is Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith. This book has been out for a year now, so it just kind of feels like a crime that I haven't read it yet, because I have been talking about wanting to read it since before it even came out. It is about two gamers. The one character is a famous gamer, a famous streamer, and she ends up connecting with this other character, and they're able to find solace from the trouble that they're having in their real lives through this game. Now, I know that it also deals with like hate comments and those sorts of things, and that's definitely something that I want to like read a little bit more about, because it's something that I have been particularly struggling with a lot in 2020. So I think that a book like this might help me to, I don't want to say feel understood, because that seems silly, but like I would be like, yes, like I understand that. I feel like there's a word or term for that, or like a sentence I'm trying to think of, but I just can't think of anything. But the point is, I want to stop procrastinating on this book and finally get to it. Speaking of procrastinating, the last few books I have on here actually aren't books that I've been procrastinating on at all. They are books that I have not had for a long time. They are relatively new, so I probably should swap them out for some of the books that I've had for a ridiculously long time, but I'm just not going to do that and just going to do what I want. So first is Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. This book came out in the latter half of 2020. I almost said 1920, but it really came out and like everyone was talking about it, and I hadn't really heard about it before that, but then I just became very intrigued by it, and I was opening it today actually, and like the part dividers, why can't I, oh my god, I struggle with flipping pages. There you go. So the part dividers are so pretty. That has nothing to do with the content of the book. I mean, the book itself is also beautiful, but I just know I have heard such amazing things about this fantasy, and that it's kind of a new and different fantasy, which I feel like is something that I'm really wanting right now. So if I'm gonna pick up a fantasy, this seems like a good one to go with. Next is a contemporary fantasy mix, so might be a good one to get me back into fantasy. I don't want to say like back into fantasy like I said all year last year, because I'm not really out of it. I'm just kind of out of reading in general right now. I'm really trying to ease myself into being able to focus, because unfortunately one of the side effects of my mental health being bad is I can't focus on anything. Like reading, cannot focus because my mind is just like woo-doo-doo-doo-doo. But anyways, it's kind of a big deal. No, kind of a big deal. By Shannon Hale. Not it's kind of a big deal, just kind of a big deal. But this is a contemporary in the sense that it follows a main character who she has kind of given up everything to be on Broadway, but then it ends up just kind of all coming crashing down around her. And she has this secret ability to go into books and actually like live through the books. So super intriguing concept. She's trying to kind of like find a story that suits her and fits her, and I don't know how that's gonna work out. I have read quite a bit of Shannon Hale before. I've read the Books of Bayern series by her and really enjoyed that, and then also Book of 1,000 Days. She hasn't written a YA novel in a while, so I'm really eager to read her latest foray into the age category. Next is We Are Not Free by Traci Chee. I like this book completely flew under the radar for me last year, but I was so excited to find out about it. I actually found out about it from Monica Kim, so she has been raving about this book and it made me immediately want to pick it up. It is a YA historical fiction, but it is not white, which is really rare to find. So this is following 12, I believe it is, Japanese characters who they are all connected and they all live in this neighborhood, and then they are all displaced and taken to these internment camps. So it's definitely not going to be an easy read, but I think it is going to be super informative, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews from Monica actually, so I'm hoping that I will also really enjoy it. Next is The Lives of Saints by Leigh Bardugo. So this is the novel that Alina is carrying in the first book, so it's just like short stories, but it's like The Language of Thorns, which I loved Language of Thorns. So with the TV show adaptation is coming out in April, I think. It's literally the day after I did my 2021 adaptations video, they ended up announcing a date for the Shadow and Bone Netflix adaptation, which I'm so excited for, but so many of you guys were commenting being like, they announced it, and I was like, yes, I know, I wish that they had announced it before I did the video, but that is not the point. So I think that a book of stories like this is going to be something that I'll really love. It's super short, so I think it'll be an easy one to get to this month. Now, the last YA book that I have here is Chasing Lucky by Jenn Bennett. I read like pretty much every Jenn Bennett novel last year. The only one that I haven't read yet is her fantasy, The Lady Rogue, which I do own, but this is her newest YA contemporary romance. She writes really great and enjoyable YA contemporary romances, kind of similar to Morgan Matson, but this one is, what was this one? A photographer, I think? Oh, right, okay, so I couldn't remember, but it is a main character who has been living with her single mother, and they've been moving from city to city, but now they come back to their hometown after years and years and years, and they go back to run the family bookstore. So that's very intriguing, but the love interest is town bad boy and rebel, who I believe is into, no, she's the one who's into photography. I don't know what his deal is. They always have very interesting hobbies, so I'll find out more when I read it, but I have a feeling I won't be disappointed by this one because I had a great time reading her books last year. And the final two books I have here are adult romances, so kind of like a faux love story. I have Simmer Down by Sarah Smith. This is about food trucks, so once again, food, romance, like that just sounds amazing. I love cooking, so I love the idea of combining food and romance. I feel like it is a recipe for success. Yes, that was entirely intentional, But this, I also have another book by this author, but I think this one kind of appeals to me a little bit more. So it's just rival food trucks that are serving Filipino dishes, and it's Maui. Yeah, so it's set, I was trying to remember, sorry, it's set in Hawaii. So it's set in Maui, which is also another fun thing. So I think that this could be super cute. And the final book is Crazy Stupid Bromance by Lysa K. Adams. I'm not sure when the next installment, Isn't It Bromantic, is coming out, but I would like to try and get to this one before that comes out. So whether I read it this month or save it for next month when I will be trying to read some more romances too, because, you know, Valentine's Day, all of that stuff. But this one you're focusing on, it's the cafe owner. She owns a cat cafe owner. Yeah, a hacktivist and a cat cafe owner decode the friend zone in this romantic comedy from the author of Undercover Bromance. So it's like a friends to lovers sort of thing. So, and a cat cafe, that just sounds like something I'd love. Okay, so I think that was, yes, that's everything. So those are all the books that are on my January TBR. I'm sorry it was kind of chaotic, but you know, what else do you expect from me? So I'm really excited to get to these. I'm hoping that I will be able to make a decent dent in things. I'm really focusing this month and this year on trying to find a balance between things, between writing and reading and work and general life things. So hopefully reading will be able to squeeze in there, because I do, you know, I want to try and keep maintaining it as a priority. I was doing super well last year in, like, I feel like it was from June to like October I did really well, but then things just got really busy with Bookmas and everything. So it's time to get back to it. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Thank you so much to Function of Beauty for sponsoring it. Don't forget to check them out in the link down below. I highly recommend it. It has done wonders for my hair. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Also, this is a Wednesday video, which I used to do Thursday and Saturday as my uploads. I forgot to mention this, but I'm going to be changing my uploading schedule to Wednesdays and Saturdays. So that doesn't make a huge difference for you guys, but yeah, I will now have a new video going up every Wednesday and Saturday. So don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of those. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video on Saturday. Bye!